Welcome back to the channel, good friends. Brian from Apex Detail. Today we're going to take a look at the EX610 ShineMate 21mm polisher. They have a 15 and a 21 that look similar. This is the 21, 240 volts, 500 watt motor, 6-speed with orbits per minute ranging from 2,000 to 4,500. The polisher's price range is $166 to $177 depending on where you look. The polisher will come in a nice box containing the instructions, the warranty card, an Allen key, an extra set of brushes, a handle, and the 6-inch original backing plate. I also picked up some ShineMate triangle pads. You can see the long throw the polisher has. It has a nice ergonomic rubber grip handle in the front. We have the 6-speed variable speed dial and a locking power switch that leads all the way back to, yes, a 16-foot cord. It is a standard stiff junior service cord, however 16 feet of it is impressive. The backing plate is heavily vented to keep the backing plate and the pad cool when it comes to dimensions on the unit. And I always give dimensions. You never know what people want to use the polisher for. 16 3/4 long. You could use it for polishing boats. We have 82.4 mils wide, and from the bottom of the backing plate to the top of the polisher, squeezing it in at 118 mils. Weight, just a little over 5.5 pounds. Anything under 6 pounds is good for me. My shoulders are absolutely just torn up and I need a light polisher. So let's remove that backing plate. Let's start tearing this down and we'll get to the look inside segment. Two plastic cap screws, you can remove them to either slide forward and remove the rubber grip or attach the handle they send with on either side, depending on which hand you use. With the rubber grip removed, that exposes the metal casing for the gears and the lock pin. Push down the lock pin. That will lock up the gears so you can remove the counterbalance by twisting it counterclockwise. CNC machined, counterbalance. We'll talk about the bearings. There's one big one right there. There's quite a few of them on a polisher. We'll talk about them a little bit later when we get to the look inside segment. Now, with that removed, that exposes 4 more screws. And those are Phillips head. Take those out and we can remove the shroud. With the shroud pulled up and off, we can also pull up the pinion gear. That exposes the gearbox and, of course, that crappy grease they try to throw in there, and also the pinion gear. That exposes yet another bearing. While we switch out that grease and put in some quality high temperature lithium, we could talk about the bearings. They are 607s 2RS, which is a sealed miniature ball bearing set. They are high quality, which is really good to see. There are some pluses, minuses, pros, and cons in this build, and I will point them all out as we crack this puppy open. Those bearings are made of chrome steel. They are very durable, resistant to whatever deformality it has under heavy loads. The polisher I'm speaking of, the rubber seals on both sides keep the lubricant in and contaminants out. I love to see that. These 4 Phillips head screws here need to be removed to pull the full armature from its casing. However, before we even attempt to pull it out, we have to remove these 4 Phillips head screws on the business end of the polisher, where all the electronics are, so we can remove the carbon brushes. They are holding in and rubbing against the commutator and will not pull out unless those are removed. Always careful pulling the casing apart on this side of the polisher. There are always wires to be aware of, and indeed we have switch wires attached. So let's remove the carbon brushes. We have a spring coil we have to detach first. That is what puts pressure on the carbon brush to rub against the commutator. That has to be pulled up, lifted over, carbon brush pulled out. And with that, the armature pulls right out. All right, let's take a look. We have a directional fan to keep that area cool. The armature has its laminates nice and clean. The field windings, or the field coil, is coated with a resin, but that one's done right. So let's talk about the other end of the polisher, the switches. Zhejiang Jiabin Electronic Company in Hong Kong is the maker of these switches, a run-of-the-mill switch. Sometimes they last, sometimes they don't. The speed dial I wish had tactile feedback. That doesn't. Another thing I wish it would have is shrink wraps on the spade connectors. Another good thing I like to see is the CPU is covered with a resin protecting it from moisture and dust, and also the carbon brush holder is a high quality copper. Now we can talk about performance as we walk over to the test panel. We can talk about its power, the sound of it, its vibration, and having done a few corrections on it now, that little 500 watt motor is the little engine that could. It works fine on boats, cars, motorcycles, RVs. It's more than enough to take care of heavy imperfections like you see on this panel. So we're just going to attach the 50/50 pad, pull out the extreme solutions, and get to work. That will bring us to the final thought segment of the video. The EX610 ShineMaster 21mm polisher. You know, I would really like to see some improvements in the internals, but there are some pros in the internals with the high quality sealed bearings. And also the coated CPU keeps out dust and moisture. But every polisher has its flaws. Everyone. I've had them all apart. Guys, they all break down too. I don't care what the make and model of the polisher is, they all break down. I've had some cheaper models last hundreds of corrections. I've had some more expensive units that you know who they are. Two of them break down in the busiest season of the year, so they all break down. It's just luck of the draw. That's just the way it is. There are quality builds. I will show you those builds. I will show you what is missing from a polisher that should be, and I will show you what's in the internals of a polisher that are impressive and make for a high quality build as well. This one here has both pros and cons, but for the entry level, for a beginner, price included, low vibration, sound is quiet, and it has more than enough power to get done what you're going to get done. Even if you use it extensively throughout the year, this polisher on my rating scale will get a very impressive. Now, I know that some of my viewers have used this polisher and own it, and I would love you down in the comments section to share your experience with it, so those that may be looking for a polisher know what to look for and what this polisher can and can't do. Thanks, guys. I love you all. Catch you in the next video.